So I told you guys I went and saw Ian Bagg at the Punchline the other week, and I'm just fascinated. I've always been fascinated with comedy. You guys know this. And so I'm seeing the acts that are coming out, and all the acts are great. There's actually more acts than normal at the Punchline. And then the featured act, I got to meet outside when I went to go see Ian, and her name's Katherine Blandford. She's a Georgia girl, and this conversation we're about to have with her in the Golden Scissors studio might be the last before she's untouchable. That's how funny you are, Katherine. That's how good you are. You're welcome. Yeah. I mean, like, your comedy is by far some of the best, you know, and you had just gotten off of Fallon too, so you were probably on a high.
Yeah, I don't think the people at the Laughing Skull open mic last night would agree with you, because I went up there at 10:15 p.m. with no notes. I was just like, here, this is what I thought about in the car on the way up here. And they were honest, and they were like, don't think about that ever again. You should move on from that bit.
You got heckled.
No, I didn't get heckled. I just, actually a lot of my bits don't start out well, which feels good, because even if they bomb in the beginning, I'm like, remember that one bit that bombed really bad for 3 months, and then you did it on Fallon, and it worked?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm trying to rebuild now. I did Fallon and had done a lot of new material on Fallon. 3 months before Fallon, I recorded something else that was for an online, I don't know what you call it anymore. It's like the new wave of comedy. They had put all their stuff on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, and it's taken off, and that's what helped me take off.
Well, there's a YouTube channel, 800-Pound Gorilla.
Yes.
And we had Brittany Schmidt on this show.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with her, and she came on. She's very pleasant, very nice, very funny. And she was talking about this Hoda Housewife special that she did. But yeah, I know it's kind of clever, right? Hoda Housewife. You have an album, a streaming album, Salt Daddy. That's what you were on Fallon promoting.
I was promoting that, yeah, and like everything. So that's what I'm saying. I did album, I did online material for this online whatever, and then did Fallon, and it's blown up. And now I'm going on tour and doing an hour, and I'm like, everything I have is on the internet. I'm on my greatest hits tour. Because everybody that's coming to see me, I'm like, you've seen it. I've got to write new stuff very quickly.
But it's tough though, right? Because you think that it's your act, and that's what you do. But I think the fan of comedy realizes that they want to hear that bit, you know, where you have your go-to bits that will eventually become legendary in your stand-up. Jim Brewer comes to mind. You know, he tells stories. One of those bits about on Howard, I think, with his dad, and anytime you go see Jim Brewer, somebody screams out, "Tell us the dad story!"
Yeah. It's the Burt Kreischer, do the machine. Like, it's there are. I mean, people were yelling at me. They were yelling romper at me all the time, and I'm like, it's my closer. Give me a second. I got 45 minutes until that. I mean, it does feel good knowing that people know your bits, but you do in the back of your head have a little bit of self-consciousness as you're starting a bit that you know has gone on the internet, is blown up. Yeah. That you're like looking around, looking at people like, oh no, they've seen it, they've heard it. But so far I've been on the road for a bit and I'm mixing it up. It's like 50-50 now. And it's still, people like love the hits, as I call them. I mean, I've been on the internet for 6 months and I'm calling them the hits.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, you go on Fallon. I want to talk about that for a second, because I love Jimmy Fallon. I just think he's a great entertainer.
So nice.
And I thought he did a really good job of putting you over. You know, when the introduction, the body language, the showing of the you know, your album. Yeah. And then coming out and meeting you afterwards, because I haven't seen late night television in years, but I watched the clip of you, obviously, for this conversation. And then he came out and he's like, he repeats one of your punchlines, which I thought, as one comedian, especially a veteran comedian like Fallon, to an up-and-coming comedian like yourself was the ultimate form of respect.
Oh, yeah. For him to say, and it wasn't even a big punchline, too, which I appreciated. You know, it's one of the little side ones.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you heard that one. And that felt good. He started out in stand-up.
Yeah.
He was 17, 18. His mom would drive him around to clubs, and she would have to sign off that she was okay with him going into the clubs because it was usually 21 and over, right? So he's super respectful. He loves stand-up. A lot of the late night shows don't even have stand-up anymore. Kimmel doesn't have stand-up anymore. Colbert doesn't have stand-up anymore. He's one of the only ones. It's the coveted show. You know, it used to be Carson. If you did a spot on Carson, your career was made.
Right.
So it's still a coveted spot to do it on the late night, on the Tonight Show. And he was so cool. You know, it's not, they tape it earlier in the day, so it's not live. So when I was standing behind the curtain waiting to come out, he was talking to the audience, and he was like, okay, we're about to have a stand-up comedian come on. You know, it's a huge deal for any stand-up comic to do the Tonight Show. This is not only her Tonight Show debut, this is her TV debut. You know, she's worked really hard to get here. Any comic who gets to this point, this is a huge deal for them. So, you know, show her all the love. And then the Roots played a song, and then I came out. And, and then I got to sit on the couch with him afterwards. And I don't know if they usually have a lot of time allotted for that. It's not like back in the old days where they were like, if you sit on the couch, it means...
Oh, you're a millionaire.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, Carson liked you so much, you made your career. Now I think it's just like, if we have time. You know, it's different.
But still, to sit on the couch, I mean, any airtime is good airtime.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you came through the curtain, my first thought was... What, you know, because this was so exciting, such a big moment in your career, and you looked great, you looked fantastic.
Thank you.
But did you overthink what you were going to wear? Like, did you say you'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to this store. I got to go to this store. There's this little place up in Avalon. I'm going to this store. I don't have the money for that outfit, but I'm going to buy it anyway.
Oh, yeah. So I had, from the minute I got a text saying that it could be a possibility, not even booked on Fallon, just get a tape together, that text to on Fallon was 2 weeks, 14 days. And I was on the road. I was traveling. I was in Texas on the weekend in between then. Booked shows that people bought tickets to see me. Couldn't cancel that. So I was ordering stuff online and just having it shipped to my house. I got home from the road Sunday night, had everything shipped to my house, was throwing on stuff. I was like, none of this is working. And I have punchlines in my set about the way I dress.
Yeah.
You know, I was
dressed like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And like, and I'm like, I just like what's the line? Like a male figure skater from 1994. Right. So I had to have something that played into that, and nothing was working. And finally, I put these two pieces together, and I was like, okay, this is it. But they're really strict. Like, you can't wear black, white, brown, navy blue up top. You usually can't even wear dark bottoms on the bottom because they don't want you to look like a floating head, blend in with the curtain. You can't wear major logos. So I had bought all this stuff kind of in my price range, and I get to New York. I meet the booker, Fallon, the stand-up booker, the day before. We're running our set at the Cellar and stuff, and he's like, hey, you could have bought anything. He's like, we have comics who go out and they buy $3,000 suits. He's like, and our wardrobe's so great, they'll tuck in the tag, they wear it on national TV, and then as soon as they're done, they go back to the store and they return it. I was like, I didn't know that was a possibility. He was like, yeah, our wardrobe department's great. They'll tuck in any tag.
That's great. You should have worn a Jimmy Fallon t-shirt. I don't think anybody's ever done that. Like, bought one from the merch shop.
Yes.
And gone out there and, done the chick thing and tied to the side and be like, just, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite parts of your stand-up on Fallon, it was so organic. I guess somebody from the Roots,
yes,
Fallon's band, either laughed out loud or they made a positive comment in the middle of your set, and your facial expressions, like, you look like you've been working TV for a very long time. And that's very difficult for people that, don't know camera, body language, eye contact, all that stuff. it's very difficult just to jump right into it. But you stop down and you look and you're like, yeah, you like that. You know, or something like that. I thought that was probably the best moment of it. It was so natural and so organic.
Yeah, so I'd done the cellar and worked like 3 or 4 different of the cellar rooms the night before, and I was going around the Booker, and I love doing crowd work. I loved interacting with the crowd. And the first couple of shows I did, and the Booker was like, you can't do that. You can't do that for TV. I know as badly as you want to. You can't interact. We're not doing this for the crowd. We're doing this for TV. Right. So I had that in the back of my head the whole show. But the minute I looked over and I was like, Questlove just laughed at me. I looked over and that was just my one moment for me. Like, take that in. That was you, girl. And then I kept moving. But yeah, that was. For a second I was like, you broke the rules, but I think it worked. It was fine. That's
funny. Yeah, it was good. Did you get a huge bump in downloads?
Yeah, actually I did. You know what's funny? Not as much as the stuff I'd put out before with that online content channel, but yeah, a good bit. But it's funny how like the difference in what used to be a huge opportunity for comedy, and not that Fallon isn't, but there's also other things that can be just as big as, you know, going on the Tonight Show. Is just as much of an opportunity as recording something for somebody that has another major online channel that gives you exposure.
Who were the other guests?
Kevin Bacon. He did some parody rock song with him. He was nice-ish. We talked across the hallway.
Okay, so you do realize you have now a built-in bit if you want to add to your
the
greatest...
1 degree thing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's
Everyone
there.
told me.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was before. People constantly make fun of me because I don't know any cultural references about anything.
Yeah.
And I kept being like, oh, because my parents grew up white.
Oh, okay.
So
understood.
Sorry, that's my
So I kept being like, I've never seen Flashdance, and they were like, it's Footloose or one or the other. I couldn't even get it right. But I did talk to him across the way. I was probably the first person that he'd ever talked to who had no clue who he was. And then the other guest was Joe Coy, who's another comic. So we got to go out to dinner with him at the Polo Bar afterwards because he was promoting his movie.
You should have told Kevin Bacon you were the 7th degree. Like, it's 6 degrees to Bacon, right? That's the that's the bit. And be like, sorry, I'm the 7th degree. I have no idea who you are.
I just want to, I want to know how many times a day somebody says something to him about 6 degrees.
Oh, he's embraced it, actually. He has, I think, a website, and he promotes it like on social media. He'll talk about it. He actually, I've interviewed him before. He embraces it. Yeah. I mean, some of the actors that, like Chuck Norris has embraced, COVID's afraid of Chuck Norris, those kinds of things, like that. You can't fight it. You can't fight the internet. The internet's going to win every time.
I would have thought he would have a clause in his rider or something that was like, no one can look at me in the face and no one can mention any degree of anything in my presence.
It's been explained to you what it is, right?
That everybody has 6 degrees of connections with him.
So Kevin Bacon is in so many movies, especially blockbuster movies, that you can take, for the most part, just about any actor or actress and have 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. So it's also a drinking game too. You can do 6 degrees to anything. You could do, like if you have a friend that's a slut, it's like, 6 degrees to Trisha. It's like, look, Bob's over there. There's Timmy. There's Juan. It's 6 degrees to Trisha. So it's a drinking game as well.
Right.
But if you're a movie buff, like I'm a movie buff, you can say, all right, you're going to start with Denzel Washington, and you got to get Denzel Washington to Kevin Bacon within 6 degrees.
But can it be anybody? Can it be like Denzel Washington's director lived across the street from a dog groomer who groomed Kevin Bacon's cousin's dog?
That's what makes it more fun. Yeah. If you do something like that, you're like, yeah. And then, we're going to bring it around to Brandon because Brandon in Noonan once worked out with a guy whose last name was Bacon, and he says, I'm Kevin, and then you end there.
Oh, so okay. So in that sense, I'm related to Gandhi.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a Bailey, so I'm sure I'm related to some chick's dog out there.
Yes, yes, there you go.
That's just how it is.
Kevin Bacon's aunts.
So you were on promoting Salt Daddy, which is your album. I got a lot of questions about that, and you tell the story briefly in your stand-up routine of Salt Daddy. When I saw that you had an album, I was like, God, do they still do that? You know, I like, do comedians still obviously you're not putting out an actual album, but it's on Apple and you can download it. I remember I used to work with Larry the Cable Guy. He, before he became Larry the Cable Guy, he's an Orlando guy. And
he is?
Oh yeah. He's originally from Nebraska and he's lived in Orlando most of his life, but he used to do the morning show next to me at the company. And he would, back in the late, I guess, 90s, he would do this bit where he'd call different radio stations around the country. And is this Russia? I mean, really racist, very pro-American. You know, like it wouldn't work today. But they were hilarious. And he got a following through that. But he was also on this morning show and he was still doing stand-up. Like the Larry the Cable Guy thing is a bit. That's not how he really talks. And I mean, he does because
But it's slowly transformed.
He lives the gimmick.
Yeah.
But he's a Nebraska Midwest boy, by birth.
So not even country at all.
No, he's got country in him. There's no doubt he's got country in him. I mean, he's not a phony. But anyway, so he worked at the radio station next to me. We became friends. He was a very funny guy, very nice guy. I was there the day he got fired. He was very upset. He decided to tell me how upset he was. Like I was the guy he took it out on. But I remember at that time he was like, you know, because he had already started butting up with Foxworthy and Ron White and Bill Ingrave. And they were, I think, just starting this Blue Comedy Tour thing, or like they were about to. It hadn't launched yet. And he was like, yeah, and I'm going to put out an album. And I was like, that's so cool. But we were still in the CD days. And then he got a Grammy, I think, for his album. But now I'm going, do you really still put out albums as a comic? Do people listen to those?
Yeah, I think it's definitely your way of putting out material and content before somebody's like, I want to put you on TV for a special. And a lot of people do it for now. It's the money making thing because you put out your album. It gives people something to go watch you for 30 minutes because nobody's watching YouTube for 30 minutes anytime. Like you put it on in the car, but also you send those tracks to SiriusXM, and that's the money maker for anybody who's not doing 30 minutes on Comedy Central or Netflix or anything like that. If you really want to make money, you submit those tracks to SiriusXM, and that's how comics live now. Oh, so
they pay well for using your content on their comedy channels. Really?
Yes. Now, but there's a big issue now. There's a writer's fee or writers, composers, something that a bunch of songwriters were getting, and they never allotted it to comics, and they started fighting back, and they were like, what's the difference between comics writing their material and musicians writing their material? Why aren't we getting that composer's fee? So there was a lawsuit, and they had stalled, like they weren't playing a lot of new tracks of any comedy tracks for 6 months, but it has just now been cleared. But yeah, that's, again, there's this whole new wave of comedy of how to make money and how to you like survive on the road and be able to do it full time. And that's why I put out my album. I only did 30 minutes because I wasn't trying to burn a whole hour on something that I would like to use some of that on TV. Right. But it's not CDs on the road anymore is what it used to be, an album. Now it's, here's my half hour, you can look me up on Spotify, and then let me submit that to SiriusXM and be able to pay to go on the road so you don't have to nanny anymore.
Well, it's very similar to the radio, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, podcasting is the new radio.
Yes,
And this is coming from a guy that's been in radio for almost 30 years. And after getting fired, I'm like, well, this is the evolution. This is what people are going to listen to. And you can do it yourself. And so it's very interesting. It's like we talk about cutting the cord all the time. And people are getting rid of cable and satellite and going to streaming networks. It's weird how, Nate, the world kind of changes in every aspect. Even in comedy, you don't have to You could just be a hero off the internet, like musicians. Musicians make tons of money, TikTok songs.
Oh yeah, and it's even changing the way that comedy is written now and how people are writing. I'm still a storytelling comic, but you've noticed people don't spend time on a bit. I still do, but people don't sit there and go, let me develop this bit for 2 months. Let me work on this for 3 months. People like, I'm writing this 1 minute clip with 3 punchlines. I'm writing it in a day. I'm going out, I'm filming it that night, and tomorrow I'm putting it on TikTok. And then I'm going out and I'm writing another minute. I'm writing another minute. I'm writing another minute. And it didn't used to, that was Mitch Hedberg and Mitch Hedberg only. You know, now it's everybody is, not everybody, but a lot of more people are writing comedy for the minute content than developing a you know, John Mulaney has 17 minutes on school assemblies. That's not really, you don't see that a lot in upcoming comics now because you see much more of a reward by putting out shorter, quicker, faster stuff online. It's
the same thing with radio. It's like, get to the point.
Yeah.
You got 7 seconds to grab people's attention. And that's it. Well, you know, like I told you when we met at the Punchline here in Atlanta, and I've known Ian for years, there's not a better crowd worker comedian than Ian Bagg. There's not one. He comes out, he's got his go-tos and his fallbacks.
Oh, yeah.
But to work the crowd the way he works that crowd is amazing.
Oh, to go and work with him that weekend and then go on the road the next weekend, I was like, well, I'm going to do some crowd work. I'm going to flex this muscle now. Because you watch him and it's inspiring. And he's also, what I think is so cool with him is he's so good and so comfortable at it that usually you'll see somebody go, all right, let me crowd work this until it gets the punch and then I move on. He'll get the punch and then sit there, and he's kind of okay with a little bit of silence for a second, and then he will milk that little bit of crowd work. He will wring out the rag until that rag he's ripped it in half. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't stop, and he pushes it so much further than any other comic I've seen, and he's so good at it.
That's one of the things that I like about his bit is to stand up. And I told him this because I've always been a big fan of The Power of Silence. You know, I've taught all these guys, you know, when they were young in their careers and they started working with me, I'm like, there's a book actually called The Power of Silence, and you can emphasize anything and make it sound so important with a slight pause. The idea of dead air is old and gone. You know, when you talk to somebody and go, you're at my house right now, Katherine, I can't believe you're here. You know, I mean, like, you don't even have to have a punchline. It's just the inflection and the pause. You're like, what the fuck is he about to say?
I wanted to run. I was a little freaked out.
See, that's the power of silence for you. I should have wrote the damn book. Is there anybody that you've been sharing the stage with that you is like the pinnacle so far of your career? Like, I can't believe I'm opening for.
Yeah, I've been on the road with David Spade for a minute.
Wow.
It was really cool. The way it happened, I had another friend, Andrew Stanley, who's an Atlanta comic, had been opening for him. He had a listen, gigs are gigs, okay? But they're not all the best. Sometimes you do it for the money. And there was this, in Atlanta, this high school group whose parents wanted to throw him a high school party and wanted to hire comedians through the Punchline. Andrew was originally scheduled to do it. He had to cancel to open up for David Spade. So they asked me instead, right?
That one might be worth ruining your reputation and saying, sorry, high school party, you can't do it.
Sorry, 17-year-olds. You probably don't even know who David Spade is, but I'm going to go open for him. So I do it. It's 17-year-old, no comedy. Doing comedy for college kids is rough. But high school kids, they don't know. You're essentially just doing a lecture at them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You might as well be in chemistry class. They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was awful. They just sat there and stared at me the whole time. I'm just repeating the price that I'm getting paid over and over in my head just to fill my time. I get off, I'm texting him like, yeah, you missed the greatest gig ever. And he sends me a picture. He's on this theater tour with Spade. And he's like, I think I picked the better gig. But he goes, by the way, we were at dinner before, And speaking of online content, he goes, Spade showed me his phone, and it was one of your clips. And he goes, who is this chick? He goes, oh, that's my friend Katherine. He goes, oh, she's really funny. So a couple weeks later, Andrew ended up not being able to do a gig with him in Florida. And so would you want to ask your friend Katherine? So again, just the power of, like moving stuff online and putting stuff online, it can change your career. And after that, we did a show in Jacksonville, and I've been 2 or 3 different dates. We've got 4 dates coming up in Florida.
With David Spade?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we have like a 4-day. We have, I think, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, and then 2 Orlandos or something like that. Yeah, coming up.
Wow. I love David Spade.
He's hilarious on stage, but sitting there with him, you'll just one-on-one, you won't stop cracking up. He never stops. He is on 24/7.
So mid to late 90s, I guess. There's a picture on my wall of us. Yeah, right there. And me and David Spade right there in the middle. And we were hosting this event at Planet Hollywood. Now, Planet Hollywood was, I don't think still owned, but was owned by a man named Robert Earl.
Yeah.
Robert Earl also is the owner of Earl of Sandwich. He owns Buca de Beppo and all
Okay, know that one.
Okay, yeah. So, and he's a very nice guy and a lot of roots in Orlando. And we had a relationship with him and his people and Planet Hollywood, so on and so forth. So they asked me at very young in my career to come out and do this thing with David Spade. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
This is one of my first like wow moments. I love David Spade. So we're up there and we're doing it. It all goes well. It's great. He's who he is and does his thing. And then afterwards, I brought like a little recorder thing to get some clips or something. I was technically a producer at the time. And he's sitting there. Planet Hollywood used to have this gigantic bowl of pasta, and he was eating it. And it's one of my regrets in my career. But I was young and stupid, and I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing him and I'm asking him some probably stupid questions. Then I get to the Farley stuff. And I'm like, now that I look back and I think about this from time to time, every single time I look at that picture, I'm like, what an asshole. Who bothers a man eating a nice bowl of pasta about his deceased friend? It's like, what a classless prick. And I remember I asked him a question about Farley. He looks at me and he says something and he was very nice about it, but he's like, hey man, let me finish eating my pasta and then we can talk about stuff. And we never did finish the conversation, but he didn't want to answer it. But he was nice about letting me down. Yeah. But regret, very much a regret.
Whenever we go, we went to the mall trying to kill time one day in Tulsa. I've never seen him turn down somebody for a picture one time. It doesn't matter. We were running late to the show. Like, we were already in the car. Someone's knocking on the window. And he's like, I'm so sorry. We're going to be late to the show. But he has never turned down anyone for a picture. He'll be like, let's all do a group one after dinner or something. But I've been surprised with how nice and genuine he is with everyone. But, I mean, he's told Farley stories. And you could tell he genuinely, I don't know, maybe it was back in the day. It was maybe more fresh. But now he likes to relive.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should try to get in on Grown Ups 3, whenever that takes place. Those are my favorite movies. I love those movies.
I'm going to play the nanny?
No, you could play the nanny or, if they bring in a new character, you can be the hot daughter, like in Grown Ups 2 when Rob Schneider's daughters show up.
I think I've aged out of that, though. Like, I think 30, they're like, no, we need 21. We need a 21-year-old to play 14. Yeah, maybe I could be I don't know.
You'd be the nanny. That's fine.
Yeah, nanny.
You'd be the new Asian nanny. Yeah, the what was it, au pair?
Yeah.
Au pair.
Au pair, is that what they're called?
I can do an Australian accent.
You could be the au pair.
Right.
Is acting in the cards? Is that like the next step?
Yeah. I want to. I mean, I'm not, it's definitely not my, stand-up is my core, what I focus on, but I love acting. I think, too, and also another thing that's become more of an opportunity for stand-ups is hosting, hosting, reality show type-esque things. Now, I think there's a growing demand for it, so I'm kind of putting myself out there pitching myself to.
I can see you being in a comedy, a good comedy. You have that personality.
Yeah, like a
people be
sitcom.
Like, yeah.
Like everybody
Yes.
knows
Her.
Katherine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm way too big to be in a serious thing. Like I've been auditioning for stuff, and they're continuously like, your eyebrows need to chill out. Someone's just died. And you're pitching it like it was a fake bow and arrow that you shot through their neck or something. And they're like, your dad just died, okay? Like, you take it down and stop smiling so much. And I can't. I'm too big.
When you're a comedian, do you take acting classes, or you just go in there with your normal abilities when you're auditioning for roles?
I have taken acting classes because I do.
Okay.
I mean, if you saw me on Fallon, you know, I get so excited, and it literally looks like my smile is trying to pop off my face. So because I didn't grow up a theater kid or anything. Like, performing was not my natural tendency. So I've had to learn techniques and stuff, and learn that your eyeball movement has to be so much smaller on camera than what you could be on stage. I take classes. I do think, though, doing stand-up, you learn a natural ability, like your timing and trusting your own instincts. Doing stand-up, you're better at that than what a classically trained actor
would be.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anybody from your past, now that you've been on Fallon and you're touring? I mean, you are you can call yourself a successful comedian. You know, you're working. When you're making money and you're a professional, you're successful. Is there anybody from your past, maybe an ex-boyfriend's like, hey, we should get together and talk. Maybe give me some free tickets to your show and introduce me to David Spade?
You know, there's one ex. Has he necessarily reached out? No, but he was a comic in Atlanta, and I started dating when I first started comedy, and he was very much like, you can't do my show. You're just not there yet. I've just seen you bomb too much, and he's still out there, and I know he sees it.
Is he doing well or no?
I think he's doing fine.
But
yeah,
not
he's
better
doing.
than you.
Listen.
ahead,
I haven't seen him
brag,
on Fallon.
brag.
I didn't see him there when I was there.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the one. Has he reached out? No, I think he has too much of an ego for that. But I know. I know he sees it, and that's the one that feels good. That feels so good. I mean, I haven't thought about it every day.
I tell my daughter this. I was telling her this the other day. You know, she goes to these high school problems. This is my motto is the ultimate receipt is success.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so success is the ultimate receipt, meaning, you know, receipt being a wrestling term for the most part is, you know, the payback is what I'm giving. This is what you get. And it's like, for those that crawl up in a ball in fetal position and they start crying, woe is me, and won't somebody help? You weak-minded punk. You know, that's when you know, as soon as you get knocked down, that's when you get taller. You get back up and you say, you know, bite my ass, and this is, watch me now, that kind of thing. I've got no constraints on me, you know.
Yeah,
so.
I think, and stand up, that is everyday challenge, because you have to continuously write. You push yourself to boundaries to grow more and more as a comic, and the more you push yourself, the more uncomfortable it gets, and the more you are gonna fail. Like last night, like, I'm gonna do that bit again. It probably will bomb 3 or 4 more times, and then maybe one day I'll do it on TV. But yeah, it's a constant pushing yourself in and then failing, but knowing that the failure just means that you're growing.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, without, you know, I saw what's the chef guy?
Ramsay?
Yeah, thank you, Gordon Ramsay. Well, I was addicted to his shows back in the day, the Hell's Kitchen thing.
Yeah.
And there was one episode, and they were on a private jet, and they were taking the last remaining chef somewhere or something, and he was giving him some advice, and he says, you cannot have success without failure. Yeah. Now, everybody knows that, but I'd never, I think at that point in time, this was years ago, ever heard somebody, especially that successful, say that out loud. And that resonated with me. I was like, you're right. You know, just like Michael Jordan said in his book, you know, he missed way more shots than he made, but he's not going to make all those shots unless he takes the shot, you know? So that's life. That's success on whatever tier you look at it.
Yeah.
So I love your attitude. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm telling you, it's the past 6 months that has popped off. Like I was nannying and beating myself up for years because I'm like, damn it. I'm looking at my friends, you know, they got their medical sales careers and their cars and their houses. And I'm like, damn, at the end of the day, I'm still a 29-year-old nanny. What am I doing? But I knew that this is all I ever wanted to do was comedy.
Yeah.
And I would still, every night, like even if you're tired, I would go up and even if it wasn't the best set, I was like, this is a rep. Maybe I'll have a riff doing this set and I'll get one more tag or one more punchline out of this bit or something like that. And so what I say now sometimes when I'm like, what is, you know, is this going to amount to anything? I think about for 7.5 years, it didn't make sense. Or sometimes to me, it didn't make sense to anyone else because there wasn't that huge success. There was no Fallon. There was no numbers on social media. And people were looking at me like, why are you going out to this bar, this smoky bar for 4 people who are barely listening to you to do this bit again and again and again? And it sucked for a long time. And now all of a sudden stuff has popped off and all of that hard work paid off. But so what I tell myself still to this day is remember all of those times when it didn't make sense, but you still did it because it will pay off eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah,
have you had a comedy club owner? Because they're not all Jamie Bendels. Yeah. You know, and Jamie Bendel's the good comedy club owner, yeah. But there's a lot of real pricks out there, especially the smaller ones in crappy towns. Mm-hmm. Have you ever gotten off stage, maybe not the best set, and he comes up to you and says, man, you're probably not coming back. You're just really bad.
I mean, yes, for years.
Really? They would tell you that openly?
They would tell me, they'd say it a nicer thing where they'll go, God, I really like your spirit. It was always that.
They would talk to you like a fat girl's haircut.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's a cute short haircut. Even though you weigh 450 pounds.
Right,
you know,
right. Yeah. They'd be like, you know what? I love how you still keep going.
Even though no one's laughing.
Right.
I love your
tenacity. Yeah.
Tenacity. You know, not too many women can pull that shirt off.
That's exactly it.
You do a good job.
I love your confidence.
So the double standard still exists, obviously, with women in comedy. We were talking to Brittany Schmidt about that, and I'd made a comment. I was like, we passed that. And she goes, whoa. No, we're not. She's like, it still exists. But when dating, you're single, yes?
No, dating. No, yeah, dating. Is that what you would... I'm living with a guy and he makes me pay rent. What do you call that? Is that...
Roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With benefits.
Dating my landlord?
Yeah. You're giving sex for... bedding.
Correct. There you go. For shelter.
You're the beyond part of Bed Bath.
Yes.
There you go. That's what you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so you live with a man now, but he makes you pay rent.
Correct.
We might need to talk about that relationship. If you got any friends that just...
It's okay. I say it on stage all the time. I'm really trying to... But see, he's still like, yeah, I mean, rent's rent. So it doesn't bother him.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Okay, I was thinking that you were single. So single, attractive woman on the road, celebrity. Is it tough to date? Do you date city to city, or do you try to find somebody in the industry, or do you want somebody not in the industry?
So from dating somebody who was a comic, realized it's great to not date somebody in comedy because comedy is so... I mean, you can't help it. It's competitive. You get something, somebody else is like, why didn't I get that? You're always comparing no matter...
Cutthroat.
Yes. It's just... It's hard to be in the same relationship with somebody doing the exact same thing. The guy I'm dating now, he's in finance. He doesn't even... I'm like throwing out huge comedy names and I have no idea who that is. So it's a breath of fresh air because everything else in my life is surrounded by comedy. But it is difficult because he does not get the lifestyle. He doesn't get why I'm going to a bar on a Tuesday night because I want to work out a new bit for the road on Friday or whatnot else, because it's an insane lifestyle. It never stops. And it does kind of stink for somebody who is in a relationship with somebody who's on the road all the time and they're not, because they're not living the high life of being on the road and getting the high of being on stage and whatnot else.
How long you been with this guy?
In the shadows. 2 years.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to work. No offense. Not trying to be that guy, but it's tough. I mean, it's like a musician.
Yes.
You know? It's
yeah. I mean, he's super supportive, but I see how bad it can suck for the person who's on the other side.
He said, just the way you described him, he strikes me as like, tonight we're having dinner, Catherine, and I have something that I need to discuss with you. I think at your age and at this time, we've seen that this comedic thing just is not going to work out for you. So I've lined up a couple interviews with some of my friends, okay? I've got some great positions as an assistant to the executive's assistant in finance.
He still tells me that he thinks I'd make a great salesperson.
Great. We're going to send you to the Bank of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and you're going to sell bank accounts.
Sell Christ. You're going to sell Christ.
You're going to sell. What we want people to say when they open up a bank account is, "Dear God, thank you." That's what you're going to sell.
From heaven on high.
For heaven on high. You know, we're Bank of Tithing.
And I'm like, that's a great sketch. Let me write that down really fast. Let me pitch this to SNL.
Yeah. So that's another thing. You know, you and I both share that is, you know, my phone's full of things so I don't forget. And the older I get, the more I forget. Older I get, the more I forget. Yeah. So, you know, we're in the business of always on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, these guys have beaten me up over this over the years. It's like, Jason, you have to stop working. You know, you have to turn it off. I never can turn it off. And it's not because I consider myself a slave to the grind. I love being creative. And if I come up with an idea, I need to share it with somebody
immediately.
Yeah.
He needs to share it immediately.
2 a.m.
Here's the thing. It's not. I want to do it because I want to brainstorm. Like, I can execute it, but I need a lot. I want help to get to that point and see if I'm missing something. So, you know, these guys are like, you know, these two guys, right? They don't even pick up their phone. You know, so
they're asleep right now.
Nikki will pick up the phone, but, you know, she picks it up and you can tell she doesn't want to hear what I have to say.
Right.
Just like right out of the gates, she's picking it up.
She's in the bath.
She's like, oh, Jesus, what?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, look, I got this idea. Okay. Nobody gets excited like I get excited because I love the idea of being creative. To be in a business where you can do anything you want creatively, and you are capable of doing it now, whether it's on stage or through a microphone, is the ultimate liberating freedom, you know?
Yeah, and it's so fun. That's like creating something. I almost love the creation process and finding, you know, elevating it to the next level, and be like, oh, we could do that. And you get there and you're like, well, what about this? And, you know, you keep building on it. Mm-hmm. That's more fun than almost executing the final product.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah, because I love the brainstorming. I love feeling stuck for a second. Feel like, wow, how are we going to feel this? Or how am I going to end this bit? There's this dull period. I've worked it out. And then all of a sudden you get it and it snaps. That's the most rewarding thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
So with that being said, your landlord mate is not getting it. You know, he says something, you're like, give me a second. You go in your notes in your phone, you write down, it's like, you've got to turn it off. You've got to turn off every once in a while, but you can't, and you never will.
I can't.
Yeah.
I would feel like I'm
like you're giving up,
playing small.
Lazy.
I feel lazy, but I would almost feel like I don't like I'm hiding myself,
diminishing yourself.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, this is, if I have a minute, I've got this idea and I'm excited about it. I'm gonna live in that moment right there and figure it out. I don't want to play normal.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. So is everything everything is a bit in your head, like you're thinking all the time. So when you have those moments with your landlord mate, and it's supposed to be serious and intimate and maybe even romantic, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I can't believe you just said that. I got to write this down.
Yeah.
Does that create an issue with that relationship?
Sometimes he's always like, you're on your phone all the time. I'm like, I'm on my Word docs. I'm like, I'm putting this bit down. I got this idea. But I think he's come to terms with it. I think he's just used to it now. I think getting to go to Fallon and watching me rise to a new level does feel more exciting, and now he's seeing the reward with it. That not necessarily going to some, just a normal best of show in Atlanta he's gone to 62 times. So the more reward that has come from it, the better he feels about it. So I just had to keep that up.
Is he older than you?
No, he's actually 4 months younger than me.
Okay, so about the same age, but you're in that marriage window where, which would create a kind of an issue with, maybe possibly, especially, you get knocked up and...
Yeah, the marriage, so the hard thing about this career, not necessarily marriage, but it's the whole kid aspect, especially if you're a woman on the road. I mean, I forever want to do comedy. I will die if I can't do this. And being on the road, I can't take a kid with me on a plane.
Oh, sure you can. You can take a kid out on the road starting from scratch, and he's a former rehab kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't I just throw you in a therapy room instead of preschool?
Yeah, that's got to be tough,
It is.
I'm just kind of putting myself in your house and how irritated this guy must get. I got lucky. I got lucky with Rach. Like, Rach gets what I do. Yeah. And she cuts me a lot of slack, and she understands how I tick. She's a 1 in a million chick. She's fantastic like that. But not everybody gets it. And so what about those intimate moments? Like, is everything a joke to you? Are you like going, oh, wait a minute, we'll get to where we need to get to. I know you want to do this, but that was funny. Let me write this down.
I will write something down very quickly, or I do a voice memo. Have you ever done your voice recording in your phone to do this? But I will say, there is a thing, like being in a green room at comedy and working this and working that and that you do realize when you're not around comics all the time, or you're not on, you learn to appreciate a moment of slowing down. And so I will give myself like a being in the moment kind of thing. Yeah. I've purposely made myself focus on that sometimes. But I mean, is it once a week? Yes. But I'll give myself that minute to be in the moment and to like feel like I'm just interacting with a normal person, rather being with a comic and trying to riff each other off of the face of the planet. But yeah, I've learned the benefits of telling myself, like, connect with this person, be in this conversation. You don't have to make a joke out of it. And I've tried to be more conscious of that, because I do think that it makes you a more relatable person to people that aren't comics. Yeah.
Oh, no, I get where you're coming from. You also strike me as a girl that hasn't cried in 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. You're very sure. Like, I got the comedian to spit up her water, whatever's in her cup. You just strike me as a very confident, independent woman.
Yeah. Too independent, probably. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know the last time I left my phone on the plane and I had to get to a show, and I was like, I just need and I think it wasn't like I actually wanted to cry, but I was like, if I cry in front of this woman, she will run faster to go get my phone.
So you can't count that. That's not a legit cry.
But yeah, I am a really good actor.
That's good. Out of all
got your phone quick, didn't you?
Yeah.
Out of all the good fun things that you're doing on the road, what's the hardest part about being out there that you've run into?
I do literally right now, because there's so many flights that are delayed all the time. I book 6 a.m. flights, 5:30, 6 a.m.
Yes,
flights.
that's smart.
So it's a lot of finishing a show at 11 o'clock, getting back at midnight, and waking up at 4. So really just the logistics of traveling early and then going back, sleeping, and then being tired, but also I like I'm pretty disciplined, and I don't ever do a set just to go through the motions of a set. I always want to have stuff I'm working on, even if sometimes it's 1-2 punchlines. Bigger shows, I'm like, all right, here's 3 new bits I'm throwing out. But I always want to write before a show and consciously sit there and be like, here's the things I'm going to work on, da-da-da-da, go back, listen to a recording of a previous show. So it's being able to, even when you're dog tired, put your brain in that creative mode to like work out stuff.
Because you're
tired. You're tired of shit. And I'm to the point like I'm on the road, but I'm not a weekend comic where I'm at one club Thursday through Sunday. I'm Pittsburgh Tuesday, Philadelphia Wednesday, St. Louis Thursday. So I'm traveling every day of the week.
You've got to book. You've got to check into a new hotel room every single
every
time.
day.
Yeah. Do you have to book that, or you got somebody that does it for you?
I got a manager who's booking the clubs. I am booking my own logistics. The hotels are included in the club deal, but
so do you? Oh, so they take care of your hotel?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm just doing planes.
And during the day, you just sit in that hotel room.
Sit in a hotel room, write, and sleep. That's it.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
You like that? It drives me nuts. I got to get outside, see the sunshine.
I get it. No, you walk out, you go to a coffee shop, but I have to make myself right. I got to. I got to get to it.
Yeah, you don't go to the gym. You don't go beach.
Do you know I go to a Lafite? That's why.
You know I'm up there at Crush.
Yeah, you know I'm doing my lunges in a Lafite. I am successful. Okay, I got this Lafite key fob over here.
I got an outfit for every day of the week just so people can see. Like these women that go to the gym. We work out. What do we work out, Nate? What's it called? Crunch.
Yeah.
Crunch.
There's a lot of them in Florida.
No, there's none in Florida.
There's not. There's one in
Tampa. No, there's one in because I looked it up because I'm getting I was just down there. So it's I don't know where they have one.
It's purple, right? They have the hand.
No, that's Planet Fitness. It's like where you can join for 99 cents or something, and they don't judge you.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one where they have the lunk alarm or the clunk alarm.
Right. And they have classes where they just roll people over left and right, and that's their fitness class.
And the guy teaching it's never taken the class, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a ton in Florida, actually.
Crunch?
Yes, I thought so. I'd seen one in Tampa. I almost went to it because there was no.
Yeah, there's at least 40, if not more.
I went on their app and they said they had none.
Oh, you weren't in Tampa.
You must have been on Crush Fitness.
You might be right.
Yeah.
I could have actually been there. Yeah. So you got the Law Fitness, and then you go out there and you got to get out and you got to do stuff.
Yeah, dude. I miss working out. I haven't been able to work out that much because especially before Fallon, I told myself I was like the only thing I'm doing is live, eat, and breathing this 5-minute set, and I haven't gone to the gym. And
that's where you get the best material. I mean,
the
people watching at the gym is fantastic.
I know. Shout out to the Lafite in Ansley Mall in Atlanta. It's close to Midtown. I've never not been hit on more in my life because all those men are not interested in women. And it was the first time. It was the first gym I joined where there wasn't like a man trying to personally train me.
Oh, because they're all gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
No one's looking at me there.
How do guys pick up women in gyms nowadays?
They go, hey.
Well, first off, what do you wear to the gym?
Long leggings and then a cut-off T-shirt.
Okay, so like a little crop top.
Little crop top.
Okay, so you're saying you're there. You're like your outfit screams, "I'm in the gym. I don't really need to work too hard because I'm good. You can hit on me, but there's a good chance I'm going to say no.
I'm going to laugh at you."
Right. But so that's what you're screaming with your outfit, in my opinion, as from a guy.
Yeah, but like, I know what the hell I'm doing kind of thing. My Explore page on Instagram is all weightlifting tips. And some horses. No, they'll go, this is my favorite, is they'll go, the first thing they say off the bat is, "Hey, I'm they put a disclaimer. They're like, "Hey, this is no like I'm not trying to say anything." He's like, I'm just here to just really to let you know I've seen you about, and you're improving and you look good.
Seen you about? What is he, British?
I've seen you about. Yeah, sorry, I'm projecting. I'm so sorry. I wish I could.
Hello there, wench. I've seen you
man.
about.
Yes, mate. Can I get your attention, mate? They'll put a disclaimer that they're not trying to hit on you, and then they'll let you know that they've been watching you, and then they will let you know how good you look, and then that's how they slide in, and then the next day they come in and then they try and give you some tips, some form tips.
Yeah, there's really no need for a strange man to talk to a strange woman at the gym unless he's hitting on her, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't go to the gym.
Oh.
Yeah, but those are the guys that live at the gym, though.
The guys that have their Tupperware in their bags.
Yeah.
And the shakers.
And those are the people I'm like, go get some sunshine. It's okay. When are you going to be too big? When is it enough?
So we had an experience the other day at our gym. Rach and I are going in there, and we're in the little stretchy things. I'm a big fan of stretching. And I bought her these New Balances for Christmas, and she likes the leopard print, so they're like leopard print on the bottom and then black. And there was this guy dressed, whatever, but he was getting some water, and she goes, "Look, that guy's got the same shoes I have on." I was like, "Oh, that's nice."
And they instantly all of it.
So yeah, so the guy walks past us, and she goes, "Nice shoes," and she points out her feet. And he goes, "Oh, that's," and I could just see his face go, "Oh, she likes me." I could tell. It was just so obvious. And I'm watching this whole thing. Now, you have to be a pretty big fucking idiot not to realize that I'm with her. It's just, you just have to know. And
are you all doing the same machines? Are you swapping out?
No, there's two different, the stretchy things that you get on and you put your feet up. And so there's one right next to each other, maybe 3 feet separating us.
Yeah.
But you could tell that we're together. And he walks over and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he tells a story about his stupid fucking shoes. And
is he looking at you too?
It was like the Berlin Wall was there. He couldn't see shit. Not once. And I'm going, I'm here, and I'm bigger than this guy. So I'm going, are you kidding me? Why? And then he gives her the pound. And I'm like, "Oh, you motherfucker." And then he continues to talk, and nobody's talking to me. Not even my wife at this time. And so he leaves, and she goes, "That's crazy, isn't it?" And I go, "What the fuck just happened?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "That guy wants to bang you, and you started it." And she goes, "Oh my God, no, I did not." I go, "You can't in 2022, as an attractive woman, tell a man at the gym you like his shoes." I'm sorry. I know it doesn't sound fair, but that's the fact. That's the case.
Your wife is probably like me, where we do enjoy human interactions and we're so naive and oblivious to anyone hitting on us. I have many a times given a guy my number and been like, "Yeah, sure, give me some tips. Come out, check out my car." Like anything that any little connection they can have to me, I do not pick up that they're hitting on me, and I'm like, "This is a new friend of mine. What a beautiful little friendship we've blossomed." And I bet she's like me, where we just have so much hope for humanity that we think that people genuinely want to strike up friendships with us, and we have no idea that everyone else is living life through their penis.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is, it supposedly when it happens to the guy. I'm being told lately that all these women are hitting on me. I'm like, no, they're not. We're driving the other day, and I honked because a car cut in front of me at the intersection, and I didn't even see it. She was like, "Did you see that woman?" I'm like, "No, she was eye fucking you." And I'm like, "What? We're in the interstate. What are you talking about?" "Oh, she was hitting on you. I know these things." I'm like, the guy at the gym wasn't hitting on you, but that woman that drove 60 miles an hour past us was hitting on me? You've got to be kidding me.
Yes, that's it. I think you want to think that the opposite sex is, I don't think guys want to think that a woman is just being friendly. but you guys probably don't even. I think you become oblivious to it because you're just. I don't know because maybe you've trained your brain to turn off from it. But I think women, though, especially, I got in trouble because I said my first couple words on Fallon were especially. Especially.
That's all right. Nikki can ask you a question.
Trust me, white people hate the way I say ask.
What is it?
I say axe.
Axe.
And I got chopped and grinded so bad, like, she can't even speak proper English.
Okay, well,
I'm like, that's just growing up. That's
exactly.
Hold on for a second.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. Don't lie to our guest. People didn't say that. I said that.
No,
and it's
social media slammed me.
And that's
I read all the comments.
Because I brought it up.
No,
and
they did it on their own.
And I brought it up only, and stop saying this white people thing, you racist
only
woman.
White people who
White
care that I
Jason.
say axe.
But you know who told me that was a black man. He said that I used to say it on the air and I stopped saying it. A white guy told him said people just don't like it. I was passing down information from my mentor, an African American male, thinking that I'm bridging the gap between the two races, but no. Can't help out the black woman.
No, just let them have a little. Their little kind of like whatever they want to. I don't understand because I get in so much shit too for saying especially, and I'm like, why can't I bring a little bit of my background into my future? Why can't I bring a little past?
What's your background with especially? What does that mean?
Just growing up with parents that would wash their yellow pillow. You know what I mean? Yeah, and especially, you know what I mean? Yeah, on a Sunday. You know what I mean? That's what we said.
So in
Can I just be a little bit of that in my present life?
They don't want it.
But that's different. Axe is different than wash. Like, I grew up in Maryland.
How is that different?
No, it's not. It's the same thing.
It's not. It's wash.
Because they're white.
It's
Right.
You stop.
Exactly, Nate.
If I say I'm going to wash my pillow after I eat this orange, and drink some milk, it's dialect from the geographic location. Axe is not.
It's dialect.
Dialect from my geographic location of being black.
It's
Wash, you're
sloppy English.
adding an R. Axe, you're adding an X.
That's not the point. The point is that like people from other parts of the world speak differently, have different dialect, just like people from different parts of the country. Axe is not geographic. It's not a geographic location. It's just
cultural.
Yeah, it is.
It's lazy English.
According to who?
To me, I'm an Englishman.
So a pillow isn't lazy English?
No, that's dialect from my geographic upbringing. This sounds really good.
Sunday.
No, it doesn't.
Sunday is just taking out an A, and people are fine with that.
Yeah. Well,
Axe is combining S and K into one.
you're
into one letter, and you could almost argue that it's being proficient.
Well,
Efficient?
You're
one of those.
Proficient?
You're getting too into it. I'm just saying the basis is if you have a geographic dialect that you grew up with, that's almost heritage. You know what I'm saying? It's culture. Axe is not culture.
It's my culture.
No, it's like one of those trendy words that came out with, Lil Boogie in '98, some rapper.
No way.
Yeah, that just started saying axe in one of his songs, and everybody's like, let's say axe instead. That's just how it's going to be. And then everybody jumped on the axe bandwagon.
No.
It's not like, you know what? I'm from the deepest, darkest parts of North Carolina, and that's where we say ox. That's where it came from. It derived in 1854.
It's the same as Southern people saying y'all, and people can't stand to hear that.
That's geographic dialect. You get away with y'all. I'm going to win the South now. You get away with the dialect. That's just how it is.
Gosh.
What do you think about it, especially?
You got to get it out of there.
I love it.
Just like actually.
I love it.
Just like actually?
Actually.
No one says actually.
No one says that.
I just made that up.
I don't think we can even say that.
Actually, no one says that.
Just one time I was having a stroke and I said it.
I actually think it's a stroke. I actually do. In my argument, though, especially sounds like I'm saying it's extra special.
Putting that extra special and
right.
especially.
Yeah. Yes.
I said that. I think that was the word I said, just like you said it. And I said, my wrestling friend Bubba Ray Dudley jumped on me. He goes,
right.
"What'd you say?" It's New York. He's like, "What'd you say?" Especially, he's like, "It's not how you say the fucking word." was like, you know what? You're right. I've never realized that. Yeah. Okay, cool. But I never said it after that again.
But people act like you're an idiot if you say especially. And you know where I come from?
Well, I think she's an idiot when she says axe.
I like it.
I mean, what are you,
like
a lumber
it.
fucking jack?
It makes me feel a little good when you say
When
axe.
I say axe?
No,
yeah. I love
that's
it.
that white
That's
guilt
our
right
second
there.
thought.
That's what
No,
she's
it
doing.
does. It is. And I have it. And don't you feel good about that?
This is the white privilege side. That's the white guilt
Yeah,
side. This is the game of Risk, the race version.
Right. Listen, I lived in Old Fourth Ward for 4 years, okay? Ask me anything about my guilt, because I have a lot of it.
Nate, do you have any questions for Katherine?
Yeah, do you change your set at all depending on like what part of the country you're in? Or do you have different jokes, or you just kind of make it general enough where you can just kind of tell them anywhere?
I like to think most of my jokes are pretty general. Now, I pander sometimes. Like, I have this joke about my parents being cousins. I honestly hate the joke. I say I never want to do it again. But from time to time, I've opened for Jeff Foxworthy. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do the joke if I'm opening for Jeff Foxworthy. But those are like little bits. I have this joke about Gatlinburg I would only really do in this southeast-ish region. Nobody knows about Gatlinburg is in Wisconsin, nor am I playing Wisconsin. But there's certain bits that I may pander a little bit, but 90% of my material is just me. Because with the hopes that you do this material on television one day, and that's
and you want to
everybody.
get the bit of the bit, like the Salt Daddy is what you end on, right?
Yes.
Or you did on Fallon.
Yeah,
And
which I had to. That was a how you creative process. You're changing. That was the original ending to that bit. I could not do on Fallon. The original ending it's talking about playing kidnap. And be like, the worst part about playing kidnap is when your captor's like, hey, actually, I got someone else, so you're free to go. And they were like, hey, you can't say kidnap on NBC. And so I had to type out a
By the way, this is the same network that's been running Law and Order for the past 24 years.
Correct. But I couldn't. They also almost didn't let me say personality disorder.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, come on. Everybody has one, okay? You're whoever this lawyer is that told me I couldn't say personality disorder. Based off of what you're telling me right now, I can tell your kids probably have a personality disorder. Yeah. So I got the set approved. I typed up a really cheesy and alternate ending, and then had a week to rewrite the bit.
Is there really a Salt Daddy? Does he exist?
Yes, and I had not heard. I was quite upset.
But explain what you don't have to do the bit, but explain. You're on a boat with your friends, and
right, we could not afford a luxurious charter boat, so we literally found a man on Craigslist, and he took us in on his pontoon boat out into the oceans of Fort Lauderdale, and his name was Salt Daddy. And there's a lot that happened, but essentially, by the end of the trip, he had invited a bunch of his friends to meet us in the middle of the ocean. And we thought we were very sexy. And then turns out he wanted to go hang out with his Miami goddess friends with the butts that make you hungry for honey baked ham. So, but I was like, I have pimped this man out. Like, I put him on my album. He's now on Fallon. How have I never heard of him? And then 3 days ago, finally, somebody tagged him on my Instagram, and they were like, is this you, Ronnie? His real name's Ronnie. And has he responded to it? No, I'm waiting for him to DM me, but somebody's brought it to his attention, and I'm waiting.
Wow, he's that clueless to not know. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of followers, and he still doesn't know.
This man is taking bachelorette trips out on his pontoon boat out into the ocean in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, I couldn't think of anybody more off the grid than Ronnie / Salt Daddy.
Isn't that crazy? It's like when a rock band or a band or an artist does a song about someone, and they don't know that they did a song about them, and then next thing you know, it's boom, it's huge.
Yeah.
My Michelle, or Sherry, or whatever the case. Like, is he
think
talking
those are
about me?
an actual person? There's
Oh,
an
My
actual
Michelle is absolutely, yeah, from Guns N' Roses.
Michelle said, "This is about me."
Yeah, Michelle was. I think wasn't Michelle. Well, you guys are gonna know. I think Michelle was Slash's girlfriend that Axl stole. And the recording on the album of the moans are actually her. And he recorded it on a tape recorder.
Oh.
I think I'm talking about the right song. I don't know. But I know Michelle is actually a person.
Did she get a cut of that?
I don't know. Delilah's a person. Hello, Delilah.
God.
Yeah, she went to the damn award show with the guy. And from the what is it, Plain White Tees? Is that the band that does Delilah?
Thank you, Delilah,
Yeah.
for being the catalyst for the most annoying song on the face of the planet.
I just lost my microphone. Yeah, so that's a real person. And I remember her showing up to the award show with the guy, and the I think like somebody from MTV was like, hey, you guys gonna date? Are you guys dating or something? And she like turned him down. She's like, yeah, we're just friends. I'm like, bitch, he just made millions of dollars off of his love for you, and you can't throw it at him just for one night? Like, what a bitch.
Way. Take the award show guest spot and then
take
run.
the high. Yeah, I don't know. My equipment's breaking on you. Sorry about that.
Well, I hate that song. It's one of my most hated songs.
Delilah.
Oh, God, is it awful. Jesus,
I kind of like it. I think it's very sexy and very clever, very creative.
Oh, my God. I
Probably
feel like
never heard it.
Hey, Nikki, do you have a question for Katherine while I try to fix my microphone?
I guess another question that I would ask is, I've heard you say
do
that
it again. Axe away.
Yeah, that you kind of live, breathe comedy. Like, did this start for you as like a child? Did you like wake up and start saying jokes in the mirror?
Absolutely not. I obsessed with attention growing up?
Yeah.
Yes. Was I a goofball? Yes. But I wasn't a theater kid. I didn't grow up. I wasn't obsessed with stand up growing up. Like, I wasn't one of those. We weren't one of those families that, watched SNL, and my dad didn't have Carlin on the radio.
So what was your aha moment?
I was in a sorority at the University of South Carolina, and this fraternity had this competition. Every sorority had to enter in a girl, and they had to do this talent show. And my sorority entered in me, and all the other girls would do a sexy dance or sing or something.
Right.
I didn't have any of that. I was like, why don't I do a monologue like I was Chelsea Handler for her show Chelsea Lately? Do you remember that was on the air?
Yeah, I remember that show.
And I did it, and I wrote it like I was roasting all the guys, the fraternity guys in the audience, and then we did a sketch with the pledge, and it was like a talk interview, and he was Charlie Sheen, and we wrote this whole thing. I ended up winning, and I was like, see, look, you don't have to do a strip tease to win, and I was obsessed, and I was like, I think I just did stand-up comedy, and so that was the bug I had in the back of my head, and then I took a stand-up comedy class. I graduated college, moved 3 different states. By the time I landed in Atlanta is when I took a comedy class. I think I was 22 at the time. Was going to take the comedy class as a bucket list thing, not going to keep
Continue
doing
it.
And then was obsessed with it, quit my job. This is who you are now.
Yeah.
And
First time it's ever happened. It's very embarrassing. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening. My equipment's breaking. I can't put
I
the
just
fucking
bought a
screw.
2013 Honda Sonata yesterday, and
Nice.
as I was pulling off for the lot, I realized that the touch screen, like they has like a little screen for XM radio. None of it works, and I had a tail light out, and one of the tires is already flat. So no, you go ahead with your broken microphone. I'm not judging.
It just makes this experience so much better, doesn't it? I'm sitting there. Nikki's got a legit question asking about aha moments. I'm sitting there going,
Clang, 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 clang,
fuck
clang.
is star going star, square going square, and then gets stripped, and I got to hold it up like a damn poor man.
Something I've never told anybody is one time.
You're white. No, sorry.
No. So I had a friend who he opened up for somebody for a comic show or whatever. And he told me, he said, I may have to go back and do a set because they thought I was good. And I want you to come and open for me if I do it. Would you do it? And I'm like, okay. So I literally had sat down and like wrote out this like 5-minute comedy thing. And I had gassed myself up like, I'm going to get on stage and I'm going to make people laugh because people tell me I'm funny all the time.
It's horrible.
But I never got to do it.
Oh, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
It would have been so bad.
It would have been
Your friend's
so
a
horrible.
bad friend for asking you to do that. I'm going to let you know for real.
You guys are horrible at encouraging
No,
people.
look,
No,
this
you're
is
just not funny. It
I
would have been
felt
bad.
like I wrote
hosting an
something
open
good.
mic for years. I'm telling
It was
you,
horrible.
you would have found out if you went and gone and done that. You might not have been here right now.
Yeah,
you
you-
would probably never wanted to look another human being in the eyes.
You probably would have
after
committed
that.
suicide.
No.
I didn't say that,
I did,
but I said
yeah.
you probably maybe were like, why don't I get an IT job in a closet somewhere where I never have to talk to anybody again? Maybe I'll just be a coder.
Yeah.
Like, you would not have ever wanted to look. You wouldn't want to come out in society after that because
Yeah.
it would have been
Nate.
bad because your first time is gonna bomb.
Oh,
It's gonna
Nate,
be really bad.
Nate's not going to stick
Nate.
up for you.
Tell these people I'm funny.
No, you
Oh,
might.
she's hilarious.
You
Thank
might
you.
be funny. You might be funny on the couch with your friends with a couple cocktails.
Or in conversation, there's a difference between
Yes.
being funny and on stage.
Very much so.
I don't know. I think I
And
could have done
Nick,
it.
Nikki's a funny storyteller. Maybe not one-liners, but she's a better storyteller, I think.
Listen, there is a difference
Nate.
from delivering it on stage than with your friends. I'm just not saying you couldn't have got there. You could have gotten there, but you're gonna bomb your first time, and it's gonna hurt really, really, really bad. It's gonna.
He did
suck.
good his first time.
Let me tell you something, make you feel better. Okay. So over the years, as the radio mic monkey, you go out there and introduce the comics, or if they're on a bigger stage, Hard Rock, House of Blues, so on and so forth. I've had to do that numerous times in my career. This is why I always say the stand-up stage is the hardest stage, because people expect you when you're on that stage to be funny.
Yeah.
You can't go up there with dialogue or lecture. I mean, you have to be funny. All right. There's a lot of pressure. And I'll give you one example. Kevin Smith, the director, Clerks. His family lives in Orlando. Every time he would come in town, Nate got high with him at the dumpster at the radio station. He would come into my show, and Kevin and I developed a relationship. And he and Jason Mewes, this was like the early days of podcasting, and they were doing their Smodcast at the Hard Rock, and it's pretty much a comedy show because they're comedians for the most part. And he says, "Hey man, I want you to open for it." I mean, that was his exact words. "I want you to open for us. I want you to come out there for about 15 minutes and open for us." Right?
What did you do?
And I don't get nervous about much, and I can work a crowd and all that good stuff. I went out there and I was terrified, Nikki. And I didn't write anything out. This was just all ad lib improv. But I got to tell you, I crushed. I did so well.
Your first time?
No, this wasn't my first time, but that's what I'm saying. It's intimidating. Now,
So you went out and you did a great job, but I can't do a great job.
Hold on.
because you're not me, but I'm just saying, if you were a white woman, you'd be funny. No, I'm just kidding. They're all jokes. They're all jokes, right?
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Rach.
Funny.
My microphone broke, babe. Yeah. So anyway,
Now, were you doing stand up or was it people? First, also question: did people know who you were when you were out there?
yeah, for the not everybody, but I mean, for
They
the
knew
most
who
part.
he was. He was a big time radio
That
personality.
helps. That changes the game.
Well,
if they know who you are.
yeah, but see, here's the thing: is whenever I've done, been on a stand, I don't want to say I did stand up because I didn't do stand up. I told stories with a lot of embellishment and inflection, and
Did you tell stories about people that they knew?
no, I told stories about myself, of my personal life, and then I would work the crowd. I would pit them against each other. I'm very good at doing that.
All right.
So I can.
You had some skills then.
I do. I currently do as well.
I still do. I still got him. I made you laugh and spit out your water.
Just because I'm not being bossed around by a radio company doesn't mean I still got. It's not like they took away my powers or anything like that.
Everything went out the window when your microphone fell to the ground.
I know my wife's now she's my engineer. She's trying to fix it for me. There was another. These are. I'm just messing with you, Nikki. I'm sure you would have done a great job.
What was your material? Let's think about it.
Well, so I'll give you another example. This was actually way before the Kevin Smith thing. There was the Last Comic Standing tour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the last comics that stood that were on this tour. They were more or less like the last comics that they could get a hold of. They weren't very funny. And they were performing at this weird venue where it was kind of a makeshift stage. It was very odd. And again, they asked me, they said, "Hey, go out." I was being paid to go out there as a radio personality promoting the show. That's all I was being paid to do. And they didn't really expect me to go out there and do much. Nobody really gave me any direction. But I went out there and I ended up, I think, doing like 30 minutes of just crowd work. And I remember talking about, it started out with, this is a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not going in the hole.
I just thought you were thinking about him
Heard
talking
that
to people
before.
for 30 minutes, asking him questions, and you're like, oh, I feel their pain.
Nothing he just said.
Story of my life. But it started, like the 30 minutes started, it wasn't on purpose that I have a soft spot in my heart for elderly women. Like, I love elderly. I'm so attracted to them. Like, my wife, who's trying to fix my microphone right now, she gave me a hall pass for
Like, how elder?
Betty White or Judge Judy.
Oh.
This is Betty White breathing. So I could have a hall pass if any of those two women were interested, which was so cool. And so there are these elderly women that were in the audience, and I wanted to talk to them. And my grandmother was my rock growing up. She was my everything. And her purse was her pocketbook. That's what she called her, pocketbook. And my grandmother's purse, just a normal sized purse, but it was like a clown car. If you needed something, it was in it. And so I was asking these women, I was telling them about my grandmother, and I was asking, what's in your purse? Because it's like after 70, you collect saltine crackers and napkins and wipes and all this stuff. And they start pulling out everything I was naming. And it was great. And I was like, isn't that crazy?
Was there a condom in there?
No condom. I didn't go blue because it was just so funny. I go, now, here's the kicker. And this was the thing that I knew I could always go to Graham as a kid if I were hungry. Saltine crackers are great, but to have a nice fresh biscuit that she would wrap in a napkin, she would take from the dinner table at Ponderosa, and she'd put it in her purse. And it didn't matter how long it'd been in her purse, it would always stay fresh and hot. And the lady, she reaches in her purse and she pulls out, she'd like taken something from the restaurant that they went to before. She was like, yeah, I got some food. I took it with me. I was like, I win.
Eruption.
It was great. It was just, and I ended up doing that, not like that bit for forever. And I just kept going to different people and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what I think too. I think we just wasted our time. So, all right. Thank you, babe. Appreciate it.
That's genius.
Thank you. Love you.
What would you have done if there was no biscuit? In my head, that's what I'm always playing. I'm like, okay, what's my backup when I'm...
So I would have been like, okay, no biscuit, but let me tell you, and then just go into details.
Yes.
So, I subscribed to, not at that time because I wasn't aware of it, but today I subscribe to the Vince Vaughn style of comedy. So if I'm telling you a story, I'm going to repeat a buzzword that I think is funny over and over again. A couple years ago, I host this tennis tournament here in Atlanta, and I was telling a story on the radio about a cheese plate because I kind of watch what I eat, and what they were feeding the workers was not very good or healthy. So I had to bribe this company to make me a cheese plate every day, and they'd make me a cheese plate. So I'm telling a story, but I'm saying cheese plate over and over and over again. These guys in the room got it. They thought it was funny. Certain people in the room didn't understand what I was trying to do. Still to this day, people ask me about that fucking cheese plate because I kept saying cheese plate, So it's just like little things. I'm nowhere near the level you're at or anything like that. But
no,
I find
I've never made a grandma pull a biscuit out of her purse yet. And the day I do, I'm going to send you a picture.
But those are all true stories. She'd also, hence the reason why my studio is called the Golden Scissor Studio, is after Graham. She would carry this pair of golden scissors. I mean, they weren't like real gold, but they were gold colored. It must have weighed 12 pounds. I mean, they were heavy. They were pure metal, right? And she would use them to cut her whiskers. And when she would cut her whiskers, it was like shrapnel, because they were old lady whiskers. You'd see them stuck in the wall or something like that.
Get one in your eye.
So, but her purse didn't weigh as much as the scissors. It was amazing. Like, the purse was this scientific or sci-fi entity thing that everything was in it, but you could never feel the weight of it.
Do you think you just saw her as a magical person?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's my unicorn.
Right.
You know, I'm into
Right.
corns, big into corns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Me too. Me too.
Love corns.
Yeah.
I know you're a horse girl.
I know.
Yeah,
I
just-
want to go around. I want to find. There is a. I think that there's a unicorn out there somewhere.
You used
Maybe
to
just
travel with Barnum and Bailey Circus back in the day.
an actual one.
Yeah, well, it was a horse with a thing
Deformity?
strapped to its head, but yeah, that's as a kid I thought it was a unicorn.
I know that there's a real one out there at some point, and it's probably just a horse with a growth
Yeah.
of some sort, and it's gonna
still.
die soon. But I'm gonna find that dying unicorn.
You're gonna be in the woods one day and you're gonna look one way and you'll be like, "Holy shit, is that Bigfoot riding a unicorn?"
Yes.
No fucking way.
Oh my god! It's just a horse that had a pine cone just that ingrown into its head. It just somebody abused it. But that's my unicorn.
Well, we'll always remember Katherine Blandford as the guest that was here when my microphone permanently broke, and I got to
Yeah.
find a way to fix it. Before we wrap this up, I want to talk to you about your podcast. It is called Cheaties, right?
Yeah.
The Cheaties podcast.
Right.
It's you and another female comic.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's all we call her. I'm just kidding. Her name is.
FC
and
is what we call her.
Female comedian, Lace Larrabee. She's in Atlanta too. It's called Cheaties. It's a play on the word Wheaties.
Yeah.
And we interview people about cheating stories, cheaters, cheaties, third party, third guest, fourth guest, sometimes cheaty turn cheater,
Wow.
all of it, the whole gambit.
More guys or girls?
More girls, but we do have a good bit of guys.
More girls are cheating on the guy?
No, more girls tell the story about being cheated
being
on.
cheated on, yeah.
Usually with guys, it's an interesting story, and there's always gray area with the guys.
How do you get them?
They call in. They
What do you mean they call in? You have a live podcast?
we have a
voicemail?
hotline. We have a
Hotline.
voicemail. That's it. And we go, don't tell us the story. We want to hear it live. Tease it. We'll go give us the bullet points. Don't tell us how it ends. And then some people usually leave a 5-minute voicemail and tell us the whole thing. But
Have you been cheated on?
yeah, that's we started it.
Oh.
That comic I was talking about that I dated before,
Uh-huh.
I was dating him. Lace had been doing a bit on stage about being cheated on and how she caught him and went through his phone. And then he was taking a nap one day, and I didn't have anything to do. His phone was sitting right there, and I had a list in my phone of all his possible passwords that I would watch him type in.
Just by the sound of the keypad.
Falling, I was like, that sounds like a 4. That's 2-2. That seems like a repetitive button. So it's either 2-2 or 1-1. So it had this list for a while, and I was like, well, it's time to put it to use. So I started guessing. I went through it. I was going through it for a minute, and there were some sketchy things, but I almost didn't see it. And then at one point, I saw a girl who had invited him to Thanksgiving. And then she said, I usually don't invite one-night stands to Thanksgiving.
No,
But
no. So where did you go in the phone? Did you go? Did you find it? Because most people are smart. If they're going to cheat, they're not going to keep it in their text messages. They'll have it in like a WhatsApp. Right? They won't keep it in their text
You
messages.
think he didn't keep it in his text messages? That was the thing that insulted me the most, is that it was just so openly there.
Oh, okay.
I was like, you're not even trying. I was like, you don't think.
So that's how you knew
find that?
that he was cheating because this girl asked him to Thanksgiving?
For sure. Yeah. And then I continued to scroll back up, and she's like, you left your underwear here.
Oh.
And then she did that emoji with the winky and the tongue out.
Oh, yeah.
And
She a comic?
no, but this was okay. Here's my favorite question on the podcast, and I'll tell you why my answer is what it is. I texted Lace after that, and I was like, I pulled a Lace Larrabee. I sent this, I screenshotted everything, and I sent it to me, and then you don't want him to know yet, so you go back and you delete the messages, and then you have to go delete the deleted, etc. As soon as I sent it to her, she had like very fine details about her in the text messages, and within 4 minutes, she was like, this is where she works, this is her previous employee, this is her address, this is where her daughter goes to school.
Wow.
And so we looked her up, and she looked like me, but 20 years older,
Ooh.
and like life had been rough.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Tires kicked.
Yeah, tires kicked, right? So our favorite question at the end of the podcast. We said, give us some advice. Are you better off now? Da-da-da. We ended on an inspirational note. And then the last bit we go, okay, are you team hotter or notter? If you're cheated on again, do you want the person that your significant other cheats on you with to be hotter than you or notter hotter than you?
Yes.
And my answer is always notter because damn it, did it feel good to see this busted woman and then send her a video of myself and be like, hey, I was his girlfriend. You know, and I look, it wasn't her fault, but I let her know. She knew he had a girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the theory on hotter, because what happens is it's so much gratifying, satisfying. Karma comes back, and bites them. So that person that might be hotter or better looking, within a very short period of time, they age like a president, right? Something happens. They put on an extra 10 on the hips. They lose an arm. Yeah. You know, they have a stroke. Something happens to that person every single time. Like go look through your Facebook friends from high school that were the hot people and they were and they're dicks or whatever. They're like 300 pounds, missing toes.
Or they're just not going to hang around with your significant other for that long.
Yeah.
If they're that much hotter than your significant other, they're using you for a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Or for financial
Is that the only time you've been cheated on?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I did cheat on my boyfriend in high school.
Slut.
I know, but he got back on me by hooking up with Jennifer Lawrence. That is a true story.
The real Jennifer Lawrence?
The real one.
You went to high school with Jennifer
Not even
Lawrence?
the fake one. No, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, where she's from. She had since moved to New York, but her cousin was our age. She would come back and come home for the summers or visit.
Was she a big deal at the time?
No one knew who she was. And so my boyfriend was mad at me for kissing somebody else. And so he hooked up with Carrie's cousin. That's all she was back then, Carrie's cousin. But I always remembered Carrie's cousin because the next day after he told me he hooked up with her, the next day she had this big write-up in the Louisville newspaper, this feature article about her, about how she was do you remember Jennifer Love Hewitt's show, The Medium?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was in that. She was a ghost. I was like, I wish you would have stayed a ghost bitch. And then I would follow her, and then she was like Bill Engvall's daughter in his sitcom, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem like the biggest deal. Maybe she'll fade. And then at some point, my friends were like, hey, remember that girl that you always ask us if we know who she is? Well, she's going to be on the show, this movie called The Hunger Games. It's like big. And I was like, sounds lame. And she kept getting more famous. And I remember my friends, and it was so painful. And my friends, remember when she fell up the steps of the Oscars?
Yes.
And they were like, didn't that feel so good? Like, wasn't it fun to watch her fall? I was like, no, because now she's America's sweetheart. Now, she falls. Oh, she's clumsy. She's just like us. Now America loves her even more. Look, she eats pizza and she gets drunk and now she falls. And I had no winning shot. So yeah, I've had my own karma.
One of these days you'll be able to tell her that story.
And she won't give a shit. She'll be like, I have no idea who you are.
It depends on your status at that time. Like if you guys are both in the green room waiting to go out and you're going out before her, one of those types of things, you're like, I got a story to tell you. She's going to care. Now, if you run into her at a Starbucks, she's not going to care.
She's going to be like, no, thank you. No autographs at this time. No, thank you.
That's the worst when you tell a celebrity something personal and it just doesn't fall the way you want it to fall.
Yeah, and he's really good at doing that. He embarrassed himself to Ice Cube, so yeah. He's the expert.
Oh, that was the least of my embarrassments last year. And I don't even think I embarrassed.
How many times have you embarrassed yourself in front of Ice Cube?
I did not. She's saying that because...
You definitely did.
I rapped for him because I'm a rapper.
Look at her face.
I grew up in the gangster rap generation, so...
Wait, wasn't Ice Cube... Was he in...
NWA.
He was in NWA. And you said, NWA, wait till you hear this.
Well, no, I said you were such an influence on my rap career that hasn't blossomed yet.
Right. This is Jason from Roswell, Georgia.
Yeah, Lil J.
Lil J.
Well, no, it wasn't his. It wasn't
J,
Jason's rap song either. He was rapping his own songs back to him.
Yeah.
And this man looked around and he was like, I have fought so hard in my career to not have to do this anymore. Why am I still sitting here in front of this white man having to listen to him rap at me.
I don't think
and keep a straight face.
Actually,
I've worked too hard in my. I've found too many child criminals. What's the show he's on?
Oh, To Catch a Predator.
No, is Ice Cube? No, is that Ice-T?
No, that's
Ice-T.
Ice-T.
That's Law and Order. Yeah.
Wrong one.
Together, they're a delicious drink that's very cold.
But he's fought too hard.
So
he shouldn't have to do this. This is why Beyonce doesn't do interviews anymore, because people like you who would sing independent Survivor back to her, and she's like, I'm not doing this with Stacey anymore.
So,
I don't have to do these interviews.
So here's the thing. I think you're looking at it totally wrong. I've done this twice, and it was on the
To
phone.
him?
Yeah, to him. And so both times it went over so well.
Horribly.
And the thing is if I'm Ice Cube and I see this guy that grew up with his music, doesn't matter what race I am because I don't hear color, and you would think that he would be like he would think that like I made such an influence on the suburban child that and he's good. Like that's the best part about it. It's like I wasn't bad.
I don't think.
He gave you a 5 out of 10. That's not good.
That's so beyond failure. And I don't think he was doing it to be like, you know what? We got to change these suburban kids. We're doing this. NWA, we're fighting for the suburban kids.
You want to hear it?
We're fighting for the white kids in the cul-de-sacs. This is what we're doing this for.
Yeah. You want to hear it?
Absolutely not. I really... It's too early in the morning.
That's what Ice Cube said too.
I will tell you this.
Give me one bar.
Well, I can't stop at just one bar. Here's the thing. I'm not going to do it for you because you did not want to hear it. I will tell you that, and I'll text you this later. You're missing out, and I'll make a meme. And
if the only way I'd want to hear it is through a camera watching Ice Cube listen to you say it.
I could probably. Actually, he was just in town not that long ago for his big 3. I'm surprised he didn't hit me up on my.
Why don't you do it right now? We'll put it on TikTok and tag him, and maybe he'll duet it with you.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Okay, I wish I had the beat. I'm sure you could probably put it under me, right?
Nikki, drop a beat.
I mean, I can do it a cappella.
How do you put up with this?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Here you go.
It's hard.
All right, here we go. I gotta get in the.
You want me to hold your microphone?
Here we go. To the people over here, to the people over there, to the people from everywhere watching this show, paying top dollar because they know when I'm on the stage, I'm in a motherfucking red. Yo, Dre, what up? Why don't you get the 12 gauge? Let's show them how easy does it. You punks want to make something of it? Get up, run up, stand up. What's up, sucker? You want some of this? Then you a stupid motherfucker. Kick it like the kick from a kick drum. Yellow boy on the drum getting dumb programming. Oh, you want to continue?
No, I've had enough.
That's good. Like you were into it. You can tell.
I was into it, but you heard this right. You started rapping in your Roswell basement, and your King Charles dog. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Your King Charles dog sighed. He goes, God, he's doing it again. And his dog went,
Yeah, Max is like, not again.
God, you're purebred King Charles dog who has a sweater on, by the way.
NSYNC sweater.
NSYNC sweater on went, bar two. Not again.
Actually, that Fat's upstairs. That's Tunes. Tunes is learning how to snore like Fat. Yeah. We're the family with the weird names for the dogs. We have
Fat.
Well, his name's Max. By birth, his name's Max, but we call him Fat. And that's Petunia, and we call her Tunes. And that's King Henry, and he's Hen Dog. And then Mr. Milton's the grumpy one upstairs. He's Milton.
He bites your ankles.
Yeah, Milton.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, they've had it with you, and and I support it.
So
it was good.
It's hard to say,
what I meant by that is I love your spirit.
Yeah. So next time you're at the punchline and you're like, man, I need somebody to really get this crowd working. Let me give Jason a buzz, Lil J.
Here's what I'll say, and I would love for you to come up and do that because a lot of comics don't like to follow somebody that bombs, but I do because then the bar is set so low, and then I just blow it out of the water. So I would love nothing more than for you to come up and do that because I like a challenge, and I do like to come up to silence and see if I can build my way out of it.
Okay. Well, you'd have to probably kick me out. I mean, the guy in the back with the light, he's going to have to flash it a few times because I might do the whole album. And I'll self-edit with the N-words,
you'll
of
be
course.
doing it in the punchline, which is the Buckhead of Buckhead. Do you know what I mean? Like it's they're not only white, but they are old and white.
Yeah, I know.
They're still the people that were mad at their kids for listening to that.
They'll
probably want to ground you after listening to you do that.
Brandon, do you have a question for Catherine? Where are you at? There you are.
Yeah, the side of your head looks real nice. That's really all I can see. I feel like someone just died in a TV show and it's just like panning out.
Are you getting mad at me for saying you look like you were in a male locker room in an LA Fitness?
No, I've never been in there. So I mean,
what are the paneling behind you?
Brandon and I were just talking. At least the angle that we have is from above, so it looks like we've died on the operating table and we're floating away.
Well, I can change the camera. Watch this. I can change the camera.
What are you looking? Where do you want me to do? Where do you want me to look at?
Look up to the sky in that corner up there.
You're fine. No. Hold on.
Is this you guys?
Hold on.
Why would he give you that one?
Hold on. No.
Oh, because it's on you.
No. Wait, let's get you a different camera angle. Not that one. And then.
Did you guys hear the dog sigh? How audible was that?
There you go. So you can now, if you want to poke in your head there.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Does it all make sense now? What did I look like? What did I sound like I looked like?
You sounded like what? Wait, sounded like you look like?
Yeah. She said if you can't see her, what did you think she looked like?
Well, I was thinking her left side of the face looked pretty normal, and then the right side probably just kind of drooped off a little bit, but she looked pretty symmetrical.
Oh, gotcha.
Jesus Christ, where are you from? These are the kind of people that you walk around with.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, he's Brandon. Yeah.
Jesus.
He's I actually get it. He's a tax write-off for the show.
Right.
He's our Make-A-Wish.
Every day we let him say one thing like that. Oh, your left side of your face looked good, but the right side looked a little too droopy for me.
Well, you can tell he's from Georgia because I said, you have a question for Katherine, and he still hasn't gotten to it yet.
Correct.
Oh yeah. So when you do a Netflix special, what venue do you want to do it in?
Ooh, good question. Oh God, I don't know. I think I want to do it like real, like sticks. Like I would want to go down to Bardstown, Kentucky.
Oof.
And do some like bourbon, like one of the bourbon distillery rooms.
Well, that'd probably be a good place to do. They do a lot of comedy at those like breweries and stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my dad's from Bardstown, and I would want to go do it. I talk a lot about my family. It's worse than Noonan. And
are you friends with your family?
No, actually not. No, yes.
Yeah.
My dad's one of 10.
One of 10 dads?
Some of them are dads, correct? Some of them are moms. He has 10 children. 10 brothers and sisters.
Oh, I thought you meant you had 10 fathers. You just didn't know which one was yours.
I think I know which one mine is because he's an asshole and I'm an asshole, so that works.
Okay,
none of us have cried.
So you still have a relationship with your family?
No. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Don't really talk to my dad, but talk to his side of the family. And they're all farmers.
Oh, okay. What about mom?
She's dead. Thank you for bringing that up.
Not a problem. I apologize. That's very, very sad.
Actually, no. It fueled my comedy. You know, you're just like, well, you could die at any moment.
Yeah. You're close to your mom, and then she passed.
Yes.
It kind of sparked you, like, I got to do something with my life.
Yeah. Did you not listen to my Fallon set, though?
I did. I'm just setting you up so you could say it.
Oh.
That's what a good interviewer does.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she passed, and so I get to still talk about her on stage all the time, and she was very funny. So she was probably the one that sparked my humorous tone.
You got a big family?
Only 2 brothers, and one lives in Alaska, one lives in Utah, and they live off the land. No Blandford kids have lived the standard, get a job, get a home, have a 401k life.
You'll never hear that ever again in your life for those that are listening. One lives in Alaska and one lives in Utah.
Yeah. Those
words will never be spoken by anyone ever again. That's
Why?
Crazy. It's just 2 oddest places. You know,
it's crazy. My dream one day, because all they do is extreme stuff. Like they go down ice caves and spelunking, and they hike up mountains and like ski the back side of a mountain, fresh powder. My dream is to have a show one day where it's some kind of comedy / extreme sport combined something.
So like you drink a lot of Red Bull and laugh? Like, what do you I don't understand.
I don't know.
You're going to tell comedy on a motorcycle while you're jumping across fire?
I think so. I don't know. I
You're
gotta
gonna do an
figure it
ollie
out.
on your Vision skateboard and tell a joke.
That's all I want to do. Yeah, I want to see if I can do I want to do a comedy show on a rafting. The 5. What is it? What's the rapids? The 5 is the 5 the worst?
So you want to do something extreme and involve comedy? It's funny.
Yes, I don't know what that is though.
Comedy's very much like sports, right? The sports world is always they just can't do sports. They're like, okay, and I kind of understand it because people want something more. So you're like, well, let's tie sports into the pop culture. Let's tie sports into this. Comedians are the same way. Like, we can't just go do comedy. Let me open up for Kiss. Craig Gass. It's like, oh, I've got to involve rock and roll. I'm going to go do a festival.
Well, at some point it gets a little mundane. You did the stage, doing an hour on the stage in the clubs for a while, and you're like, let's shake it up.
I don't think comedy and rock and roll, they go together, but they don't work at the same time.
No, my co-host on Cheaties, Lace, was just on America's Got Talent, and I was like, they shouldn't have America's Got Talent on that show because every other act on that show,
it's not from America.
Well, that number one, but the act before her was a rock band. They had pyrotechnics, they had a light show, they had a band next to them, they had a costume changer, streamers coming down from the sky, right? And then afterwards, it was just her doing just her and a microphone with a background.
Yeah.
And it didn't go. Simon buzzed her, and he was like, I wasn't getting the crowd reaction. I mean, because she had a rock band and a pyrotechnics and a stage that they built so she could walk up and pump her crotch in front of the judges' faces and shit.
That's why I say comedy. The comedy stage is the hardest stage to stand on.
Yeah.
You have to go out there and. A lot of these comedy shows, I knew a lot of people that were on that last Comic Stand-In when it first started, and they would tell me this is very political, and you were the winner was picked before it even started.
Oh, the producers know. It's the person with the story, and it's the person with the material and the look that they need to fill a niche for, right? In that, and. Yeah, it's all predetermined.
And the same with America's Got Talent. I mean, you have to win over Howie Mandel because for some, I guess, on that panel, he's the comedy god. Yeah. And so he's going to, if he likes you, then you've passed the test. And I mean, if you start out with one good joke, you got him.
Yeah, but then it was Simon. Simon hates stand-ups. But it's whatever. I mean, the show, fine. If you like it, fine. It's all fake and whatever else. But... again, comedy also is very subjective and opinionated, and it's not for that show who they need light, fluffy, middle America stories, and it doesn't fit there. But it's saying in the same vein as, like, a stand-up, your standard stand-up is, I'm talking into a microphone, I have a one-person show, I'm not a rock band, and they're different, and you can't... Stand-up is not you can't have a rock band and then have stand-up after it by any means.
No.
I don't really get opening for musicians.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Even Craig Gass would tell you, he's like, he has to find a gimmick. So I think a couple occasions he would go out dressed in like roadie gear, like he was giving the crowd information from the band. And he would work which is actually fairly brilliant, but he'd work his stand-up into, like, he wouldn't come out and say, hey, I'm Craig Gass, I'm a comedian. He would come out in a jumpsuit, and he'd say, all right, ladies and gentlemen, before we bring out Motley Crue, got a couple rules for everybody to follow. And he would just go right into his bit, which is brilliant because if he goes out there and says, I'm a comedian, people are like, fuck off. Yeah. Brandon wanted to be a comedian at one time. Instead, he got into, building fences and doing, irrigation, but I mean, he's got some really funny stuff. Brandon, you want to throw some of your material by Katherine before we end this?
Give me a premise.
What do you call
I hate this.
A drunk rat playing hopscotch?
Me as a nanny?
A baton.
See what I said? It's like really good stuff. I mean, it's just a little tweaking with the delivery, but...
What are you doing sitting behind a camera right now? Why don't you get on the stage? God.
I'm working on it. I'm starting in the basement, starting small. I got a few roaches around here that I talk to. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, that rat joke.
Did they
kills.
give you that joke?
Yeah.
That was good,
Yeah,
man. That
strong.
was really good. I don't get it at all. It's so above me.
Well, that's his problem and his struggle. He's an intellect comic.
Right.
You know,
it's too good.
He's trying to book a tour with all the the Yales and the Browns and the Harvards and stuff. He's trying to do one of those Ivy League tours.
Right. Yeah. God, and you're gonna do good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Just wear the hat and the robe, and you'll be straight like skull.
Did you just say I don't know the answer to this? I'm just gonna think of a noun, and then because I don't even get what the hell a baton.
It's like the Judd Nelson joke in Breakfast Club. It's like there's no punchline to it.
Yeah.
He made it up for the scene. I think Brandon just made that shit up because I put him on the spot and he was falling asleep.
Right.
All right. At it's Katherine Blandford on Instagram, but you can find her anywhere, YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff. At Cheaty's podcast, follow the podcast. We're a big supporter of other podcasts. And I wish you nothing but the best. I had so much fun with you being here and you coming over to the studio.
You're my new
and
fave.
hanging
Thank you
out.
so much.
You're so awesome. And
You say that every time?
No, I don't. I really don't.
we
I don't
don't
like
have-
a lot of people.
yeah, Nikki does. I mean, look at her face. She's just mean. Look at that.
She's pure
she's
evil. Look
pure
at her.
gay. I got to do that rap just to smooth her out every once in a while.
Right. Put her in her place.
Yeah.
Look, there's other talented people here.
It's I Pavlov her. I have to do the rap so she smiles every time I do it. She
Yeah. Right.
smiles, yeah.
She forgets how to fake
and
smile.
then I
Don't touch me.
No, God, how do you do this?
Bailey
all the
Entertainment
time?
does not have an HR department.
Don't touch me.
This podcast does not have an HR department.
Tomorrow she's gonna come up with the plastic COVID walls.
I will touch you if I did. This is a good old boy men's locker room
Jesus.
where if I want to talk to the gals and the women.
She's been blinking twice at me this whole podcast.
Help me.
Yeah.
It's funny because her safe word is Katherine, and it didn't work today.
It's like, I
all
got
right.
you. This is the first time she's gonna come out of the basement in a week, right? They don't let you leave.
You can't see the constraints, can you, on her
No,
feet?
I see them now. Oh, but they're bejeweled. That's why you can't really tell.
Yeah, I get them from Etsy.
Right.
There's a lot of freaks on Etsy that do the constraints for me.
Yes.
After you leave the studio, we have our OnlyFans account that we have to go cater to.
Jeez, that's where
lot.
you make your money. I knew
It's a
it.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
No, you were great. Best of luck. Keep in contact with us. Let us know if we can help in any way. And I'll come out and see you again anytime I
Please
can.
do.
You're hilarious. Very, very funny. So at it's Katherine Blandford on the Instagram. Follow her. And again, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.